Okay, in today's video, we're going to talk about ZOCDOC Marketplace and buying leads from ZOCDOC for your medical practice, whatever practice you're trying to run there, is worth it. Information about how it could work or how it does, in theory, work. This is real information of campaigns that we've ran on ZOCDOC and know firsthand what you actually are going to get out of it at the end of the day. You should consider when deciding if ZOCDOC marketing and advertising, i.e. the leads you get from ZOCDOC, are actually worth it for you at the end of the day. Because the short of the answer of this is, to tell you right up front, they aren't. And that is for one particular major reason. That is, the people that you're going to actually get from ZOCDOC are not the same quality as you're going to get, like, let's say if you marketed your own website through Google, which should make sense to you if I explain it like this. People who want a serious long-term provider are not going to go to ZOCDOC to basically find that provider. Not that it doesn't happen, but when we're talking about marketing and advertising and getting a return on our money spent on it, it's about statistical odds, the statistical likelihood you're going to get a perfect client or patient through ZOCDOC is not nearly as good as what you're going to have marketing your website through Google, because people that want to really research the long-term provider they're going to work with, they're not going to just randomly, willy-nilly pick somebody off of ZOCDOC, okay? Even though their platform's predicated on, presumably being, your people that are well reviewed. And the reason for that is actually pretty simple. People know that big established businesses have a presence on Google, and they want to know how long they've been in business, lots about that company. And you don't get that through ZOCDOC necessarily straight out the gate, but more importantly, the fact that you have the big established long-standing player in the space is going to have a website on Google that is there, and people know that. So therefore, they're going to go there naturally by default. In any market, you got to evaluate. There's a lot of places to get leads. Lead closing rates are very important. You got to understand the lead quality in each place you get leads is going to be different. You got to be able to evaluate what not only in this particular case, what is the lead closing rate, because every lead doesn't turn into an actual booking or somebody that physically even shows up, they cancel. But what is the lifetime value of a client from each space? And the lifetime value of a client you get through ZOCDOC ain't going to be what you get through Google. And the reason why people even go ZOCDOC is because it's easy to do. You don't have to know much, which is where they get you. And they started out cheap with their leads, and now it's a lot more expensive, and therefore it's not worth it anymore. So it's easy to do, and you don't have to know anything about advertising. You just say, hey, I just want some leads. Give me the leads. Whereas if you're going to advertise your business through Google, to get these so-called perfect patients, you got to understand about Google ads, and that's not simple. And anything to do with business and marketing, if it were easy, everybody would already be doing it, and therefore the opportunity there wouldn't be that great. If you do what everybody else is doing in business and marketing, you're going to get everybody else's results. There is no turnkey way everybody can do things, because if you did it by default, it couldn't work great for everybody, because there's got to be winners and losers in your market. And the place that you get leads from, since we're talking about advertising and marketing, would just raise the price on the leads, because why the hell not? To a point where everybody's just making a tiny bit, the lead seller's making the most money, and that's how things are done. Whereas if you're advertising on Google, it's the same way. Google wants to make the most money, but there are levers that you can pull to make sure that you have the better ads, so you get the above average return. So you're getting a better quality person, A, that you're dealing with on a regular basis. And then B, the return is good because you put the work in that the average guy or gal isn't going to be willing to put in to run his ads. So you could go the easy, simple, turnkey, assured way to get leads through ZOCDOC, and it is easier, and it is initially certainly cheaper because there's no setup period where you got to set up your ads, landing pages, all this stuff. The end result is not going to be nearly as good as if you went through the trouble of setting up your own website and funnel through Google Ads, through Microsoft Ads, if you want to throw that in there into the mix. Okay, and obviously you could run ads on Facebook and stuff like that. That's a whole separate thing. In the medical space, more important than Facebook are YouTube ads. Because YouTube ads, you can find somebody with a specific medical problem or ailment, and you can get an ad directly in front of them, which I highly, highly recommend. But anyway, with all that said, I'm going to get into the content here. So ZOCDOC is a great platform for newer, smaller businesses, medical businesses, like I mentioned, practices, to get started marketing online because the barrier to entry is low. You don't need much money. There's not a lot of cost in setting up your lead generation system. And you don't have to know a lot. But they take advantage of you for that apathy that you have of not just, oh, I don't want to make it too complicated. I just want my leads. Okay, well, you're going to be paying out the butt for those leads for being so apathetic. And you're going to be working cheap, okay? So ultimately, you're going to be paying out the butt for the leads. Means you're working cheap. You're going to be doing a lot of work for not nearly as much gain. Do you really want to be working and only keeping half your money? Because half of your money, literally speaking, is going to pay just to generate the leads and patients to come into your business in the first place. The answer is no. Then you certainly may not want to be so lazy and apathetic about figuring out the stuff that other people in your space aren't willing to do, but works, and get that going for your business instead. We've actually gotten leads off of ZOCDOC mainly because we got people that come in. We don't run ZOCDOC ads for people necessarily, but we got people that come in that are already doing it, so we have firsthand knowledge of seeing about how well it works. We've done this in doing therapy, psychiatrists. So we verified this in not just one business, but multiple. The lead cost on ZOCDOC can be like $100 a lead on the platform. It obviously is going to vary a little bit market to market. But when you factor in, here's the big crux of the situation here. The cancellation rates on the leads that you're getting, some niches more than others, that $100 per lead can actually translate directly into a $500 cost per new patient that actually comes in and physically shows up and pays, okay? Because of the 80% cancellation rate from those damn ZOCDOC leads. And that's really get you. Of course, ZOCDOC says, oh, if there's cancellations, we will refund you. But the reality is they're only going to refund you for 24 hours. The person that cancels generally cancels 24 hours before their appointment, not after they initially booked. So then that money back, can't guarantee on the cancellations. That doesn't mean jack at the end of the day for that reason specifically. So there's two main ways that you can get leads off this platform. There's pay-per-lead by itself, where you're not guaranteed to show up in such and such place on the website, and specifically at the top of the search results. And then there's also you're paying per lead, where you're getting preference or preferred ranking in the search results, which will give you, with the idea being you get more leads that way, or more total leads that you could possibly get out of the ZOCDOC search traffic that's there. And with that said, though, we've tried this. You're going to pay between 25 and 50% somewhere in there cost per lead, going with, trying to go for preferred placement. So, but that said, you'll get probably about 2 times as many bookings through ZOCDOC if you do that, and that would be all great and fine and everything if our return already was over like a 1,000% ROI. If we were at over 1,000% ROI on our leads that we were getting, of course you would want to get as many leads as you can. But with the cancellation rates and it really costing like $500 a patient, now you add even more cost. The math doesn't math anymore, basically. We had a psychiatrist, just to give you an example. They were paying about 45% of their patient revenue that was coming in from the initial booking and then all the future bookings that they got. About 45% of their revenue, at least as of late, because they've really jacked up the prices recently, 45% of what they were making was just going into paying for the leads in the first place because of the sky-high cancellation rates. And then once they paying more for preferred placement, that jumped up to 60 to 70% of the revenue that they were getting was just spent in terms of giving it to ZOCDOC to acquire those patients in the first place, which is a ridiculously high number for marketing and advertising if you don't know anything about it. Most businesses, it depends on obviously what your margins are, But in the medical space, your typical person isn't going to want to pay more than 20% of their incoming revenue in terms of advertising and marketing costs to get the revenue to come in. And ideally, it's 10% or less. When you're starting out, you typically have to pay more than 10% to get going, because when you start out, you don't have any patients already. Then, basically you don't have any rebookings really, and then therefore you have to pay a higher percentage of your revenue in advertising to get things going, upwards of 15-20%, whereas when you're a mature business, it can be like 7.5%. I got people all the time coming in our advertising agency, and they say I have to spend 15% of your sales to get in advertising to get the clients, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to pay that." The reality is, if you could pay 7.5% in terms of marketing costs to get your clients before even having your business started, or when you're just a baby business, don't have many clients, everybody would be doing what you're doing. There would be no opportunity anymore. Anything that's too easy, too good to be true in advertising, and it's common knowledge, we'll say, to add to that, it's not going to be there. It's not going to last, because once people start piling into it, it's not going to be that great anymore. There's a lifespan on certain things with advertising, where if there is something that comes out that is working really good, it works extremely well. More and more people find out about it, and then the effectiveness wears off, the more people that get into it, and then it just becomes the same as everything else. So it doesn't matter how good something was fundamentally at the start, there's a lifespan on it. And so going back to the fundamental principle I was talking about before, if you want really good returns where you're paying 7.5% of your revenue on advertising to get your clients, and you're growing your business on a regular basis, you got to find something that isn't just common knowledge, easily turnkey that can be done by anybody. You can find stuff that is common knowledge on this channel specifically on what you can do to get that done. But the differentiator for you is going to be, you're going to work harder initially, and you're going to put some initial money into it to get it jump started in terms of good website, good landing pages to send people to on your website, good effective ads that you can run on Google and so forth, because most of the medical professionals, will just say it in this space, don't want to spend on their marketing. And they don't want to go ahead and spend either themselves or through an agency a couple hundred hours setting up a really, really solid ad campaign so that it will produce those numbers. They'll want to spend 15 minutes setting up an ad campaign themselves because they don't want to pay somebody else. And then the results are junk. So you just have to be the one that's not so cheap, for lack of better words, at the beginning, and you'll get those returns. You just got to be more willing to put that work and time in. Either you're paying somebody to do it or you're doing it yourself, so that it ultimately comes down to providing a better user experience for your users. If you provide a better experience for your users, they're going to respond to your stuff at a higher rate, and you're going to monetize the ad traffic that's available to everybody in your space at a higher rate to get the higher than average returns. So now this all said, you may not have to spend half of your patient revenue on ZOCDOC leads if you perform better as a provider. There's a big, big difference between one provider and another based upon your better bedside manner, as they call it, and people, being likable as a person, people then therefore coming back at a higher rate than with somebody else. And if you can get that, patient experience high enough, and you can now get people to come back at twice the rate, now instead of paying 50% of your revenue to get and it goes back into to get the leads and the marketing to get the leads in the first place, now you're paying 25%, or it could be even less. So your edge, going back to what I said before, could simply be your service is just so good that you can actually pay more for a lead and still make money, which that's the holy grail of marketing at the end of the day, is to have a product or service so good that you could pay more for a lead than anybody else in your space and still make money, because you cannot lose at that point in time. You're guaranteed to win, and you're guaranteed to win big. Maybe not everybody can do that, even if you wanted to. And in that situation, then you got to be able to do better on the marketing and advertising side by doing something outside of the box of what people who don't want to work very hard or spend very much initially to get patients in the door are willing to do. And so, and I'm not trying to, this is a sales pitch per se, but this channel right here has all the methods for free to set up an ad campaign on Google or Microsoft/Bing for yourself that will do that for yourself. It's just a matter of whether you're going to do it or somebody else is going to do it. The actual strategy is not a secret. Most people aren't going to do it though, because they want to get rich right now, and they don't want to spend much to get it. They don't want to wait very long to get it. And therefore, you just don't be so lazy and have to get instant returns and have it be cheap and easy and all this, and you'll get it for yourself. Because that's the default thinking of what a medical provider is going to want to think doing what they're doing. And probably shouldn't even say this because it's going to piss off a lot of people, but ultimately what I found, like for medical providers, not everybody's like this, but they think that their thinking is, oh, I went to school to be a doctor, therefore I should be paid a lot. And the marketing person I hire, they never went to school, so they shouldn't be paid a lot. And therefore it shouldn't cost that much for me to get patients. And that's the thinking that's going to get you nowhere. Marketing people who really know what they're doing make just as much as doctors do. I know because I'm in the world. I make as much as a doctor, more than that, when you combine our other investments or assets, e-commerce businesses that we're running on the side of our ad agency and so on and so forth. A person who really knows how to get great results in marketing don't charge 50 grand a year because they can market their own stuff, market a product, do something on the side, not just working with clients for 50 grand a year. And so ultimately what I'm trying to say here is, if this is potentially you who think that this is supposed to be easy, I want it to be easy, I deserve, to get paid more than the marketing person, you're going to end up not getting what you want at the end of the day, mainly because of an ego situation. Just pay the money that it costs to do it right the first time, and it'll pay for the next 10 years for you, and you'll make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. But you have to get over the initial thing, thinking that it's going to be easy, quick, painless at the beginning, because if it were, every other person who thinks like that by default in your space would already be doing that, and therefore by the laws of marketing, it wouldn't be effective anymore. Because everybody wants the patients, the people who work harder, better, or smarter than the other people are going to be the ones that get 80% of the return at the end of the day. The 80-20 rule applies in this as it does with anything else. 80% of the money is going to be made by 20% of the people because they understand marketing better than anybody else. They also obviously have a decent, better bedside manner and good processes in our clinic, or that has to be still good. But even if it's average, most of the money is going to be the person who understands marketing the best. And that's not going to change. So you can try to say ZOCDOC is great because they only charge you per lead. I don't have to think. I don't have to work very hard. And bury your head effectively in the sand. What I challenge you to do is go ahead and look at how many people are bailing out before they come in. Look at how long they're staying there versus other places that you may get through Google right now, which you can, through your patient management system, check and see for yourself what the difference in lifetime value of a patient from Google versus ZOCDOC. And I'm almost positive you'll be shocked in the difference if you have the bravery to go there. So with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. Hopefully I didn't offend you, but this channel isn't here to just tell you people what they want to hear. It's about getting results at the end of the day. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment or a question on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. If you like the channel, by the way, first of all, you should subscribe. There's no other better information on how to run ads effectively for your business, as I'm doing ad strategy on dozens of ad accounts for dozens of clients at any given time to give you the information about what works and what actually doesn't work online. Whereas most of the other people that have information on YouTube, they're speculating, they're selling courses, they're not actually doing what I'm doing here. And they're not guaranteeing results for their clients, which we're the only agency out there that does that. So you should subscribe, and you should subscribe now, not later, so you don't forget, because you're going to find a better source of information. And then also I have a blog. If you like the channel here and the content here, you can find my blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog. which has written strategies for myself on stuff that works to make money on campaigns that we've used before that you can follow step by step. If you like the channel, you'll love my blog even more. As mentioned several times in this video, we have an ad agency. What we do here is we guarantee results for our clients in that if we promise you a certain amount of increase in profits from your ad up front, we deliver that, and unless we deliver that, there isn't any fee that we take on our side at our agency, which makes everything, which distributes the risk, if you will, evenly. That is, if you don't make money, we don't make money, and therefore, you know that we're not just blowing smoke up your butt when we say, we think you can get good results. The catch is, though, we don't work with just anybody. We look at, and we're very careful who we work with, but if you want to see if we can work together, reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. I'd be happy to look over your stuff and see what kind of potential return we could get you by working together. And then you can, maybe we could work together. Maybe we can't, but maybe we can. At the very least, you should reach out. As a side, not a lot of people ultimately want to work with an ad agency. I'd say it's 70% of people want to manage their own ads still, which, that's fine. I'm not fighting that. But if we worked in your niche market already, if you don't want to work with an ad agency, you should at least buy our ad templates that we've developed for your niche market already. If we've worked in your niche market, and we've worked in, over the last 10 years, 100 plus different niche markets, you could take the exact ads, landing pages, everything, campaigns, everything that we developed for your market to get a set amount of results in your space, having optimized ads in your space for years already. You could literally take that, a carbon copy of what we're using to get fantastic results, copy and paste it into your account, and sidestep all the work and time and money you have to spend to figure out what we had to figure out to find those results in your market. As long as you're in a different geographic area as a current client or past client that we had to get that information, then it's all fair game to use it in your market as well, whether that be a different city or different country or whatever. We got people using these templates to start. We got people using these templates to start other side businesses, getting into e-commerce when they weren't in e-commerce before, which basically guarantees your campaign and business is going to work because we know the campaign will work if you apply it to that business. Or people starting lead generation businesses where they're taking the templates to generate leads and then selling the leads to people in that niche market, which is about as good of a passive income business as you could possibly find. But anyway, there's some different opportunities there. If you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. But I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on my next video where we have another great strategy for you then. See you later.